Hello and welcome back to Women's Football Talk, the YouTube channel that brings you all the latest news and stories from around the world of women's football. So today we are looking ahead to another weekend of WSL fixtures and look at the NWSL final itself. So let's head over to England and let's start off with the WSL games this weekend. All games taking place on Sunday. And obviously the big talking point from the last week has been the future of Emma Hayes. We did a video which you can check out on our channel where we broke the news of her leaving at the end of the season, and we've done a podcast as well, so make sure you check that out. It's talking about Emma Hayes' decision to leave Chelsea and potentially, or the rumours is that she's going to join the USA, and obviously what it could mean for them going forward. So speaking of Chelsea, they play away at Everton this weekend. Obviously Chelsea come back into last week with a 6-0 victory with 6 different goal scorers, so fantastic result for them. Last week for Everton, they ended up drawing 1-1 with Tottenham Hotspur, Aurora Galley getting a late penalty for them, and then Everton played in midweek in the Conti Cup where they lost 7-0 to Manchester United. So not the best of a couple of weeks for Everton. Haven't picked up 3 points since they won in the Merseyside derby before the last international break, so it's a bit of concern for Brian Sorensen's team, and against a Chelsea team that are obviously top of the table and as free scoring as they are at the minute, it's going to be a bit of worrying times for the Toffees, who will be hoping that they can find a bit of form again and start moving the way up the table, because they are the league's lowest goal scorers, having just scored 3 goals so far in the WSL this season. So it's a bit of a worry for Brian Sorensen, but Chelsea, they're going to be having their shooting boots on and will want to continue firing on all cylinders this weekend. I look at some of the other games taking place. Manchester City, they take on Brighton and Hove Albion. Obviously for Manchester City, they lost last week against Arsenal 2-1, but they got back to winning ways in the Conti Cup, beating Liverpool by 4-3. And for Brighton, it's been a very patchy game. Few spells, obviously getting pegged back late against Manchester United last week in the league, losing to Chelsea before that and Spurs. So it's a bit of a long stretch for Melissa Phillips' side since they picked 20 points. And for Manchester City, obviously disappointing that they lost last week to Arsenal, but they are still showing very strong signs and are looking at a very good team this season. Second in the league, just 3 points behind Chelsea, and I'm expecting Kiara Keaton to have a good bounce back game this week and continue her fine form to this season. And obviously for Brighton, you've got to watch, of course, Elizabeth Turland, who's been free goal scoring as always this season. The late game in the WSL sees Leicester City take on Arsenal. Arsenal managed to pick up that, obviously, like I said, win against Manchester City and win in midweek against Bristol City in the Conti Cup, whilst Leicester are looking for their first couple of points in a while since they drew 1-1 with Manchester United, obviously losing 1-0 to Manchester City last week and then losing 2-1 to Liverpool as well. So it hasn't been a good few weeks for Willie Kirk's side after their incredible start to the season, but they're still doing a lot better than what many thought, and I'm expecting them to slowly but surely get better over these next few games. A tough ask against Arsenal. Obviously they were able to start Bethany Mead in midweek in their Conti Cup game and are starting to look somewhat better, but there's still a few gaps here, so I'm expecting this to be an absolute cracker, a bit like their Manchester United versus Brighton game last week. Speaking of Manchester United, they take on West Ham on Sunday lunchtime. That is the first game in the WSL this week. Manchester United, like I said, were back to winning ways in midweek, beating Everton 7-0. Nikita Parris get a hat-trick, and there was a first start for Fallon Tullis-Joyce in goal, and Evie Rabjohn made her debut as well, coming off the bench. So a much better performance from Manchester United, much more resounding and resolute performance compared to what we saw from them at the weekend. But they know they've got to be taking all 3 points in a situation like this against West Ham if they are wanting to stay on the door and continue challenging for Champions League places and whatnot, potentially a league title in the future. Last couple of games now, we've got Tottenham versus Liverpool. Again, this is a game I'm really excited to see. Two teams, Spurs drawing 1-1 last weekend, Liverpool managing to get their victory against Leicester City before losing to Manchester City in midweek in the Conti Cup. but third versus fourth in the league, two teams that are doing much better than what I expected them to be doing at this stage of the season compared to what they were like 12 months ago. Robert Wilhelm's side looking absolutely fantastic. Obviously Martha Thomas picking up the October Player of the Month. How fantastic she started the season, and overall Melissa Lawley has looked really strong for Liverpool so far. So a game I am very, very much excited to see. And then the final game we have is Bristol City versus Aston Villa, the two bottom sides in the WSL this season. Aston Villa looking for their first points this season. This is the perfect chance for them to get it. Got back to winning ways in midweek in the Conti Cup, beating Sheffield United by 5-0. Obviously Bristol City, they lost to Arsenal in midweek, but picking up that first victory last weekend against West Ham United was key for Lauren Smith's side, so hopefully they can continue their bit of form and roll on. But it is going to be very much eyes on Carla Ward and this Aston Villa side, because if they lose this game then their season is in real big trouble. Right over to the United States now, and this weekend sees the NWSL final take place. It's on Saturday evening if you're over in the States, or the early hours of Sunday morning if you're in the United Kingdom and Europe. OL Reign versus Gotham FC for the title at the Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego. A game that should be absolutely class. Two teams that have improved as the season gone on, especially Gotham FC. Look back 12 months ago, bottom of the table, missed out on everything, and now they've got the Coach of the Year, the Rookie of the Year, and are 90 minutes away from lifting the NWSL trophy for the first time. It would be an absolute fantastic story. Speaking of stories from the NWSL, if you haven't checked out our article on our website, which is womensfootballtalk.substack.com, we spoke on the new TV media rights deal, and there's also the news that they have expanded the playoff spots from next year to 8 teams from the current 6. So plenty of stories coming out from the United States over these past week or so, and obviously plenty going on here in the WSL as well. We'll be back next week to recap all of this weekend's action and look ahead to the Champions League games coming up over the next week. So in the meantime, make sure you like and subscribe, turn on the post notification bell so you never miss a video of ours, and that you're following us on Twitter and on Instagram for all the latest news and stories from around the world of women's football. In the meantime, we'll see you soon.